Someone is kind to you, genuinely, consistently, warmly kind, and instead of feeling good about it, you feel strange, uneasy, like you're waiting for something. You catch yourself scanning their words for hidden meaning. You replay the compliment they gave you and wonder what they actually meant. You pull back a little, maybe you even push back. And on the surface, this looks like trust issues or low self-esteem or just being difficult, but it's not any of those things. So what is it? You are not broken. You are not ungrateful. You are not someone who doesn't deserve kindness. What you are is someone whose nervous system learned very early on that warmth comes with conditions, that closeness is temporary, that the calm before the storm is still a storm, just quieter. And when your brain spent years reading that pattern, consistent kindness doesn't feel like safety. It feels like a setup. That's not a flaw. That's your mind doing exactly what it was trained to do. The first thing to understand is that your nervous system is not responding to the person in front of you. It's responding to every person who came before them. When you grew up in an environment where love was unpredictable, where a parent could be warm one day and distant or explosive the next, your brain built a map, a survival map. And on that map, the safest move was never to fully relax into kindness, because relaxing meant being caught off guard, and being caught off guard hurt. So the discomfort you feel now when someone is generous or gentle or consistently caring is your nervous system saying, "This isn't what I know. This doesn't match the map." It's not rejection, it's vigilance. And for a long time, vigilance kept you safe. Think about someone who has been in relationships where affection always preceded disappointment, where "I love you" was followed eventually with withdrawal, where the warmest moments became the most painful to remember because of what came after. For that person, sweetness becomes a signal to brace, not because they chose that response, because the brain shows it for them, quietly, efficiently, without asking permission. And here's the part nobody tells you about this. The discomfort isn't just about fear of loss, it's about identity. When you have spent years believing, somewhere underneath everything, that you are someone who doesn't quite deserve to be treated well, consistent kindness becomes cognitively dissonant. It doesn't fit the story. So the brain does what brains always do when something doesn't fit. It rejects the new information to protect the old framework. The unkind treatment felt familiar. The kind treatment feels suspicious, not because kindness is wrong, but because familiarity and safety got fused together somewhere along the way, and now the brain can't always tell them apart. You might notice this most in romantic relationships. Someone patient and present can feel almost irritating in a way you can't explain. You want them to be more complicated, more hot and cold. You mistake emotional chaos for passion and emotional stability for boredom, not because you prefer suffering, but because chaos was the texture of love you first learned. Stability to a nervous system still running old software doesn't feel like love. It feels like something must be wrong. This also shows up at work. A manager who gives consistent praise can make you anxious in ways that a critical one doesn't. Because criticism you know how to handle, you've practiced, you know your lines. But someone who sees you clearly and likes what they see, that puts you in unfamiliar territory. And unfamiliar territory requires a level of openness that feels, to a guarded nervous system, genuinely dangerous. As people age, this pattern shifts, but it doesn't disappear. In your 20s, the discomfort with kindness often shows up as sabotage. You pick unavailable partners, you downplay achievements, you deflect compliments with jokes because holding them seriously feels too exposing. In your 30s and 40s, it tends to get quieter and more internal. You accept the kindness on the surface, but you're still waiting underneath, still half-braced, still monitoring. The behavior evolves with you, shaped by every relationship that either confirmed or gently challenged what you believed about yourself. But the root stays tender until something, time or insight, or the right consistent relationship begins to soften it. And what the behavior is actually doing, underneath all the discomfort, is regulating you. It is keeping you emotionally even. When someone is kind to you and you deflect or withdraw or question it, you are restoring a familiar inner climate. You are returning to a known emotional temperature. The kindness, if received fully, would require you to be open. And open means vulnerable. And vulnerable for a nervous system that learned early that openness leads to pain is not a neutral state. It is terrifying. The suspicion, the pulling back, the quiet unease, these are like a thermostat clicking on, returning the room to the temperature it knows. It's not sabotage in the way people think of it, it's self-regulation. It's the mind reaching for its version of a blanket, not because the blanket is warm, but because it is known, familiar, safe in the only way the nervous system has yet learned to recognize safety. There's something quietly profound about this when you really sit with it. The people who feel most uncomfortable being loved consistently are often the ones who most needed consistent love and didn't receive it. And the brain, in its remarkable, imperfect way, adapted. It built armor that looked like indifference. It built distance that looked like independence. It built suspicion that looked like strength. None of it was a choice. All of it was protection. And now, in a life where perhaps things are different, where someone genuinely kind is genuinely present, the old armor doesn't know it's no longer needed. It's still doing its job, still standing guard, still scanning the horizon for the thing that never came but always felt like it might. If you recognize yourself here, there is nothing to fix, nothing to correct, nothing to be ashamed of. You are not someone who is bad at being loved. You are someone whose love got complicated early and whose nervous system did the only reasonable thing it knew how to do. It protected you, thoroughly, loyally, at great cost sometimes, but always on your behalf. The discomfort you feel when someone is kind to you is not proof that you don't deserve kindness. It is proof that your mind has been paying very close attention for a very long time. And that kind of vigilance, that kind of quiet endurance, it makes a great deal of sense. It always did.